Beaver, anything happened in school today?
Angela Valentine said she was going to get sick in class.
What happened?
She did.
Well, Wally, anything happen in your class today?
Nothing that good.
It's tempting at times to convince ourselves this is how American family life looked before electronic media and the internet age became so pervasive. But while this bygone era might not have been quite as golden as we remember it, there's no denying the internet, cell phones, and digital entertainment have both dramatically and permanently changed the way we interact with each other and the world at large.
Families have become networks themselves, as each member of the family manages his or her own email account, his or her own address book, his or her own media preferences. They can arrange to get different kinds of media coming through the web and other things to them as they become managers of their own networks. They have sort of different friends from other members of the family. So we've seen sort of a spreading out of family social contacts. We've also seen the privatization of media spaces. Lots of children have their TVs in their room now. Lots of people carry around their own cell phones. So rather than dealing with the household landline, they've got their own private communications structure for dealing with the world. And this trend towards privatization of communications and media has been going on for a long time. The internet has just added to it, but these things were happening even before the internet came into family life.
The Pew Center's Internet and American Life Project has been studying the impact of new media for more than a decade now.
We call ourselves a fact tank, not a think tank, because we are in the business of promoting primary research. There's no agenda driving the Pew Internet work. We don't have a position on net neutrality. We're not out to improve the Internet or root for certain technologies over other technologies. We're literally looking at how people use it and how they report the impact of the Internet on their lives, but we don't really have a stake in what the answers are. If people hate it, we're going to report it. If people love it, we're going to report that too.
During this program, we'll hear more of the project's findings, including a few that might surprise you. We'll talk with the Petaluma couple trying to encourage folks to occasionally plug out from all this new technology. And we'll hear the perspectives of 3 different focus groups. One is a group of Sonoma County parents trying to raise their children in an environment where the technology ground is constantly shifting. The second group is their preteen and teenage children, who must cope with age-old problems like peer pressure, while also dealing with a constant barrage of new media products. And we'll talk with a group of Sonoma State University students, part of that first generation to spend most of their journey to adulthood in the shadow of the internet. It's likely some of the comments will ring true in your own lives. They may also encourage you to start some digital dialogues of your own.
Can you have real FaceTime with your friends?
Exactly.
Because that's I don't want you to learn to just communicate through texting and Facebook. You have to be able to go and communicate with people, in the real world.
That brings up something that Christmas, I got together with my whole family, and I have 2 or 3 brothers and a sister, and they all have kids, and I found it really funny. All the cousins were sitting on the stairs, and they were all staring at their phones.
And they're all,
And I took a picture of them being together, and they're all on their phones, looking at their own phones, out at each other. And I don't know what they were doing. They might have been playing a video game or something. I don't think so. But it was a snapshot of today.
These parents may be able to find the humor in a generation of kids who would rather text than talk, but they also know they face challenges no previous generation of parents ever had to deal with.
So let's clarify here. Anytime you want to go or start some new program on the internet, you need to check with us no matter what it is. So it's just, but I'm constantly learning what those programs are, and sometimes it's learning in a way that I'd rather not learn about
I think everybody's learning on the spot.
Yeah.
I think the creators as well as the users are learning on the spot what's going to happen with this technology. And unfortunately, It's almost like Oppenheimer inventing the bomb for me. And I hate to put an ugly spin on it, but I'm sorry. I look at technology as a potential bomb that can always explode. And unfortunately, there are some things that you can't take back. Once you post pictures on the internet, or even worse, when a disgruntled boyfriend posts pictures that are questionable of a young lady on the internet, a disgruntled kid can hammer any other kid, text-wise, Facebook-wise, Instagram-wise, and devastate a kid, devastate an individual, and it gets out of control really fast. And it's that control factor. It's like controlling the economy. I feel like just like kids should not be handed credit cards, kids should not be handed technology and told, go play. And we're all talking as responsible parents. What I'm fearful for are those kids who don't have responsible parents, and there are plenty of them out there.
Navigating the brave new world of digital media can be just as intimidating for kids, as we found out from our teen panel.
Like, technology is fantastic, and we love it, but it's not helping us in any way.
And then because there's the thing with, because we have this technology and you can be anonymous on the internet and you don't have to face people, there's also like cyberbullies, which makes saying terrible things about people and being really mean to people, it makes it a lot easier.
You can say it to anybody.
And it hurts so much more when somebody does it over the internet than to your face.
According to our group of Sonoma State University students, media technology is almost inescapable. These young adults also face the challenge of having to set their own boundaries for perhaps the first time in their lives.
The funny thing is I'm already a bad procrastinator, and then all this new media stuff happens, and it's like, well, let me just add on top of that.
Add some more stuff.
You know, and then I was it's funny, it's like you just keep going on the internet searching stuff and looking up stuff that you don't really want to, but you just do it anyway, and you're supposed to be writing this paper, and it's like, yeah, it's like, it's 11 o'clock, I've written one page for this 4-page paper, and yeah.
In all three of our panels, most of the worry seemed to center on two key forms of communication: cell phones and social media.
The main phone, like, if you have a phone, almost everybody has an iPhone.
Yeah.
I don't have an iPhone.
It seems there's a lot more people, like younger people, having iPhones than you would expect because they're such nice phones.
Yeah.
And
Or
they're expensive phones too, and there's a lot younger people
the
having
newest
them.
one just came out.
And
I mean,
the newest one came out today.
I've seen a third grader who has an iPhone,
Yeah.
which that's
like
a little.
I think
I don't
right.
think a third grader should even have a cell phone.
Someone was upset with me and they just kept texting. I was like, all right, this is way too much texting. Like, I'm 2 texts behind and I'm texting, responding back, and then it was just really, really confusing. So I was like, I just called them on the phone and they put me straight to voicemail. I was like, come on, I really just want to just talk to you on the phone so we can just clear this out instead of going back and forth on texting. We could just be very clear with each other.
Yeah.
With the phone call, I don't know.
I've had situations like that too.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just gonna call you and save the time and my finger muscles, you know. Hey, and they're just not there.
I would rather talk to my friends on the phone or like on Skype personally, so that I can actually hear their voice and almost feel like I'm talking to them in person rather than just texting. Usually I like texting if I have to find out a place I'm supposed to be, or, you know, getting stuff coordinated, I guess, but when I'm calling people, it's more leisurely.
My dad always tells me to get off, and so does my mom, because I'm usually on it for like an hour or something while I'm doing my homework.
I have a couple friends that like they constantly text. Like I have this one. It's not really a friend. She's kind of like a frenemy who she texts during class and stuff.
Oh.
So I hate that because it's like it like
annoying.
distracts you and
It's annoying
annoys
when
you.
people are texting during
It's like you're
class.
trying to concentrate in class, and so you can't.
Most kids are more tech savvy than most adults anyway.
Right. Yes.
So we're always playing catch up.
Yeah.
And they're always ahead of us. They're always a step or two ahead.
But I told her, I said, don't ever, ever send anything in a text, a picture, a tweet, or anything that you don't want the whole world to know.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't just send it to that one person, or you call that person, there's no tracing of the voice, you know, unless they're, you know, recording you. But I go, you know, you just don't want to say anything bad about anybody, because it will come around and it will bite you.
Like, I was at a soccer game the other day, yesterday, or whatever day it was yesterday, Thursday, and there was this guy that was taking pictures of us on his iPhone, and nobody knew him, and he just left, and it was kind of creepy.
It's scary.
Right now, 88% of adults and 77% of teenagers have their own mobile phone. Almost half of people have smartphones. And when you carry around that much computing power and that much interactivity in your pocket, it changes the way that you think about getting information and communicating with the people that matter to you. And getting real-time information and getting just-in-time information and doing just-in-time searches has now become a commonplace part of people's experiences of media and experience of data and experiences of their social networks.
I almost feel like I'm forced to have a Facebook because if I don't, I'm like not in the loop with all my friends. They all send these mass messages on Facebook talking to each other about things, and like these are usually my friends from back home a lot of the time. But I got rid of Facebook twice before in my life, and I've had it since 2006 actually, so a really long time. Yeah, and I knew nothing about what was going on. Like, friends got boyfriends, didn't know about it. Like, it just really confused me when I got back on Facebook about how much I was actually missing in all these people's lives. And I just hate that it's almost like a requirement to text or, you know, have Facebook because everybody is just using it.
And now I think about that even because I'm on Facebook and what I'm just posting with family and friends, but I think about my daughter in high school, and our college is going to get on Facebook and look at what she does, and then whatever she's doing through high school and college, then when she goes out to interview, I mean, come on, at 16, you don't make good decisions.
Right.
You're not thinking about that kind of stuff.
And everybody else could be that media shot of you doing something maybe not inappropriate, but looks inappropriate. You know.
And so you've got these outside people coming in, and now they can get on your personal pages.
I know that not only me, but a few of my friends, we've all had to have our friends change their passwords during like finals time, so we're not tempted to go on a bunch of the social networking sites.
I've done that before too.
People are legitimately addicted to it.
And the digital age has transformed the world of home entertainment. Whereas families of the past might have gathered around a board game, today it's more likely an Xbox or PlayStation will be the center of attention. So is it just a great new way to be entertained, or something more dangerous? Some video game enthusiasts say they can be a great way for families to bond and interact. On the other hand, with today's realistic graphics and sound effects, the violent content of many games has become a hot-button issue. One thing that's undeniable is their popularity.
Like, say you're mad at yourself or you had a really, really bad day, like, you can escape to a different world and, like, just take all of the madness or sadness or worries out of your mind and life and just relax, I guess. Yeah. But I don't play video games. My brother does, and he plays like those really gory
like the first-person shooter games.
Or
like people are
all of those games, and then he got this Minecraft on Xbox, so now he likes that, and so
people are
I don't know. He likes a lot of variety of games, but like if he has the chance, he'll play for like 12 hours straight.
People are having so much fun when they're playing a game about killing people. There's like there's a huge amount of violence in a game.
That's how I get my anger out.
It's so rewarding when
it's
there's
like similar to the Hunger Games, where someday it's going to become real. It's like reality TV shows. We all know they're fake. What if someday it's not going to be fake?
It's a couple of things that have really surprised me. The first is that women are just as likely as men to be online and computer gamers. The cultural image that we have of gamers is that they're young guys shooting each other or virtual versions of each other in their bathrobes with Mountain Dew cans strewn around their feet. There are a lot of guys who play games like that and enjoy gaming to that degree. But there are as many women now who enjoy the role-playing games and the strategy games and board games and card games in virtual spaces. So the gaming space is very much a diverse space where people are getting very different things out of it and having very different social experiences from just the sort of shoot-'em-up version of those games. That's been a consistent finding in our work, and it's consistently surprised me because it's so different from the cultural expectation.
Ray and Anna Claire Decker are Petaluma parents who want to add to this digital dialogue in their own community. They've started their own movement called Plug Out. The goal isn't to stop people from using new media technology, but to get them to think more about how they use it.
We have friends that say, we've got to get our daughter this because all her friends do, and we don't want her to be not popular. And, we just don't buy into that. Do you need it or not? If it's going to be used for purposes of school and or social, but the thing is balance. It really is fine, go ahead. But what I can't stand is when I see kids, they pretty much live their life with the thing in their hand, walking around, and always with them. And even when they're walking with friends, they're texting other friends. And so our goal is, with our whole concept of Plug Out, is we don't want to be preachy about Plug Out. It supports why we think that there's potential here for some sort of word, some sort of brand that really, when you see it, it makes you happy and you remember, yes,
When's the last time I plugged out, and when can I do that again?
Yeah.
And the Deckers try to practice what they preach, making things such as family outdoor time a part of their regular routine. As owners of their own public relations company, they recognize it can be just as hard these days for an adult to plug out as it is for a child.
When we walk our daughters to school, I used to take the phone with me. I'm like, why? Just so and I used to check on the way back just to kind of see what my day is going to be like and who's calling me now and everything else. Now I leave it at home, and it feels wonderful, that I'm walking the dog or I'm riding our tandem bike with our one daughter, and it just feels good that I'm free.
In fact, it's become abundantly clear that internet and digital media use is no longer a purview of the young, a fact evidenced by the multi-generational explosion of Facebook users. It's a question not so much of who uses the internet, but how they use it.
There is a long history of scholarship of different people using different media, different magazines, different TV shows, different radio programs to meet their own needs. That shows up in our work about how people use the internet. So for instance, women are more likely than men to get health information online. They're the health keepers of their families. That makes sense. We see that in other media. We now see it in these media. Men are more likely to care about sports and care about finance, and so they are the ones who dominate those sites. For generational differences, some of the obvious differences also show up in our data. Young people love social networking sites, love social media, love dating sites, love to use classified ad sites when they're moving into a new town or when they're moving from one apartment to another. They dominate those spaces.
Yeah, my dad has the iPhone and an iPad and a Nook and all of this stuff, and I have the most basic cell phone from my sophomore year in high school, and he knows how to use all the apps and this and that, and I have no idea what he's talking about most of the time. And just this weekend he bought me my first iPhone, and I have to go home and figure out how to use it, and he has to teach me, which is kind of sad because most people are teaching their parents how to use all this stuff.
I love it because I have a son in the military. Well, we have a son in the military, so that's how we keep in touch with him. And I look back at when I was young. I mean, if I had been a mom at that time, you would be writing letters.
I guess for me, it's just the ability to see so many things that you wouldn't normally see, hear music that you wouldn't normally hear, and also how fast you can find out about things.
So we have on our iPad a dictionary, and it's an app. You speak to it, and it understands what you say and gives you the definition. So I mean, dictionaries that are actual paper and books, no kid uses those anymore.
And I've talked to friends of ours, other parents that say, your girls at some point are going to have a cell phone because that's how you communicate. They will miss out socially on events, on birthday parties, whatever. They're getting together for a movie, and your kids will be out of the loop because they don't have that. So,
which is hard also. And then some the high school teachers actually communicate via Facebook.
Right. And that's supposed to be a positive too. We're not there yet, right? That kids get together on the Facebook to work on projects, and that's the best, that's how they work it. So again, it's not a bad thing, and I don't know how we're going to move forward with our kids in that direction.
I would suspect that our goal would be to then just, okay, once that time comes, education.
So how should we ultimately view the onslaught of new media technology going forward? Are we heading toward a future of bright promise, or one marked by a never-ending series of new social ills?
There are grounds for optimism and pessimism, or at least wariness about this environment. Most people tell us that they appreciate all of the joys that digital technologies have brought into their life. They enjoy having more diverse media sources available to them. They enjoy interacting with their friends and acquaintances with social media and in social networking sites in ways they never could have a generation ago. They like the fact that they can say something without anybody else's permission, without having to worry about whether a reporter is going to cover it or not, and so they like having more voice, more capacity to participate in their communities and in their culture. On the other hand, there are people who are very worried about all of the implications that these technologies have for privacy. In the networked age, we share more stuff, but sometimes in a very sort of deliberate way. You know, we're describing our lives and we're taking pictures of the meals we eat and the friends we hang out with. So there are ways that we specifically share and are happy with it. But there are other ways that we're being tracked and monitored and profiles are being built on us based on our clickstream behavior or based on our mobile activities that we don't know about. And so there's a general unease in the population about what is all this data being collected about me, and what does it say about me, and what is it going to mean if I want to apply for insurance or want to apply for credit, or I'm looking for a new job. And so there's some concern about that. There's also concern about whether these technologies are pushing people into more extreme groups. You know, when you hang out with the same bunch of people all the time and your social network is a lot of people like you, does it make you more partisan, more extreme in your views on whatever subject?
You have to kind of take the value judgment out of it. I mean, it's technology, and it's, you know, if you go back and telephones came along, and I'm sure, you know, in radio and these media pieces, it's there, and it's how you use it. So it's really about keeping that. The kids are going to be using that piece of Facebook or Instagram, and you have to kind of stay on it and just take it for what it is. It's a way that these kids are going to be communicating. Mm-hmm. You know, with the majority of their communications with their friends, texting and all that piece. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of take that as it's the next evolution of technology, but also kind of learn what you need to do to kind of manage it safely, you know, which is a big piece.
It's so prevalent in our lives, and that if you try and take technology away from some people, like, they freak out that they don't have, like, their phone on them. Or if you go away for a weekend and you can't use technology, like, people stress out about it because they can't be in the loop or something. And I mean, we obviously need to take some time and look at what's actually going on around us besides whatever everybody else is doing.
I think having honest, frank conversations with them, face-to-face conversations about what they're on, what media they're on, and how they're using it, and, you know, what the parameters are, what they should or shouldn't say, having the rules.
Mm-hmm. And explaining why they shouldn't
and
be
where
doing
it could
this
lead,
or that.
if you did, what it could lead to, and the pros and cons to all of that.
But it needs to be a dialogue. I mean, they need to
An ongoing.
They need to be talking
Yes.
about what their friends are doing, what they're doing, because if the parent does all the talking, then
Right.
we don't hear what the kids are tempted to do, and because kids think what their peers do, that's normal, whatever their peers do. And if one kid does something inappropriate on the internet, on Facebook, whatever, texts, that's considered normal.
We can embrace technology, but we want to make sure that it is done responsibly. We're mindful of it. I think that's a key word of it. And that we need to then just kind of build it into our life, that, you know, that this too is good, and then also too much of something could be bad as well.
And for me personally, it's the recognition of giving somebody your presence is huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we're going away from that. So just trying to keep mindful of that is big.
And community, face to face, having a conversation is fun.
Love technology, love people more.
Right.
I like that.